Hey everybody, it's Chef Carly here, and I'm about to make an amazingly delicious plant-based lasagna. I have all of my ingredients already set out and ready to go. I've already started my marinara, which is a basic red sauce, really simple, and what we're using for that is San Marzano tomatoes. That makes the best marinara sauce you will ever have in your life, because you don't have to add a lot to this. I put just a small piece of onion, a couple of cloves of garlic, just a little pinch of salt, and got that started on my stove with the olive oil, and that's already going in the background here. So let's go over everything that's going to go into this lasagna. We're going to start off with our Barilla pasta. Shout out to Barilla. I really like using Barilla products because most of their products are already pretty much plant-based. They are made in a factory that does use eggs, but there's no eggs in the Barilla pastas except for I think one of the products. So Barilla is my go-to. And then we're gonna have some vegan Parmesan, some nutritional yeast. We need silken tofu for this recipe. This is gonna create your regatta, and I'll show you how to put that together in just a minute here. Mushroom to create your meaty texture. Some seasonings, go over those. I'll put them in the notes so that you can find what's needed. Some onion and some kale. So we're gonna take the onion and kale, saute that together, and that's actually gonna become one of our layers. So we're just creating layers with these beautiful ingredients that we're gonna put together here today. All right, so it looks like it's time to check in real quick. I have got things started with my onions. I've gone ahead and diced those up. That's one large onion, considerable amount. We're gonna use this whole onion too. People think that plant-based cooking is so much work, and it's really not any more work than your regular cooking unless you're trying to make something look like something that it's not. If you're just cooking plants, it's just as easy as if you're cooking meat. So that's what I'm showing you how to do. Yeah, I haven't started to cut my mushrooms. We're gonna cut the mushrooms similar to how the onions are cut, in the sense that it's just gonna be a coarse chop. I'm just gonna show you that really quick, and we'll finish that up off camera. But you just want to coarsely chop these mushrooms so that they can saute up, and they're going to look a little bit like meat the way I cook them off. I'm just going to put this in a bowl over here and show that to you. So there's our mushrooms coarsely chopped, and we're going to cut all of those exactly like that. And just to show you quickly with the kale, so we're going to coarse chop the kale as well. Quick trick on how to clean your kale. You want to pull a couple of bottom leaves off, and then and normally that just pulls right out of there, that center core. But today it wants to give me a little bit of trouble, but it's usually fairly simple. Just pull it right down. And that's how you clean your kale. And the coarse chop for the kale is going to be more like rolling it to do a chiffonade. And it's a simple chop just like that. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this off camera, and we will be right back. Okay guys, so as you can see, I've got all of my veg chopped up, and what I want to show you is how the mushrooms cook down. So I've already gotten everything started here. I've got some olive oil in the bottom of my pan. You can see how much mushrooms I have here, and you're going to see that when it's finished cooking down, it's going to cook down to about what would fit in this bowl right here. And all you're going to do once you have all of the mushrooms in the pot is add a little bit of salt, which is going to pull all of the liquid out of that, and you want to keep cooking this down until all of the liquid dries out. That's what's going to give you that desirable texture. A lot of people don't care for mushrooms because if you don't cook mushrooms properly, they get a little bit slimy and kind of take on almost like an oceany flavor. This is going to eliminate that. This is going to become unctuous and meaty and really, really tasty. So we're going to cook that down, and we'll be right back so I can show you how to cook down the rest of the veg. So I've got my mushrooms cooking off in the back, and we're going to move on to the stage where you're going to create your plant-based regatta. Now, how I do this is that silken tofu that I showed you. You're going to put that in your blender. I'm using my Ninja. I love Ninja, favorite blender. I have the Ninja Pro. You're going to put your silken tofu in here. You're going to add the starch of your choice or any type of egg replacer now. If you're using starch as an egg replacer, just remember that you're going to use 3 tablespoons with a couple of tablespoons of water to create 1 egg. You're gonna add that to your blend, put a little bit of nutritional yeast, some salt, and we're gonna blend that up. I'm gonna do that off camera so you don't have to listen to all the noise, and we'll be right back. All right, so my silken tofu is all blended up. And I'm just gonna pour that out into here. And if you know anything about tofu, you know that it does not have any flavor at all. So we have to make this have flavor. And I know that this looks thin, but trust me, when it cooks, because you've added that starch, it's gonna get a really nice consistency. So what we're gonna add here to punch this flavor into here is just like if you were making a mixture with regular ricotta, because ricotta doesn't have a lot of flavor either. So we have our plant-based mozz, plant-based parm, we're going to add some fresh parsley, garlic powder, notice I'm being very liberal with that garlic powder, and you don't want to go too heavy on this onion powder because it can have a tendency to taste soapy if you go too far with it. And you're just going to mix that all together, and that is going to be your plant-based ricotta. So if you can see what I was talking about with the mushrooms, these babies have cooked almost all the way down. So when you're right here, there's almost no liquid left in here. This is when you want to add your seasoning. And I keep the seasoning pretty simple in the sense that I have my own steak blend that I make, which will probably be available for sale. And I just add the steak blend. And we're just going to add a little bit more salt. And I'm going to stir this around here and give it a little taste to see if I need to add some more. I'm going to add a little bit more steak seasoning to this, but this is right on point. And then you just want to let this cook down again until you're not seeing any liquid at all in here. All right, guys, so we are ready to start on the remainder of the veg. I'm going in here with my onion. I have about 2 tablespoons of olive oil in this pan, and I'm gonna start sauteing down this onion until it gets translucent. And then you're gonna add the kale, and you're gonna let that reduce down until it gets a really nice, like you just want the kale to be cooked through. You don't want it soft. You want it to have a little bit of a bite. And you're gonna season with salt and nutmeg. That's it. Okay, so everything is cooked and we are ready to assemble. I've gone ahead and gotten everything started. So I use this olive oil spray. You can use any spray that you like. I try to stick to olive oil or a coconut spray. So I've sprayed the pan a little bit. I put down a nice layer. I like my lasagna saucy, so I put a really good layer of sauce down on the bottom, and then we've layered our lasagna noodles. Now, lasagna has a no cook, no boil noodle. We're not using that one. That one is the one that actually contains eggs. We're using the regular Barilla noodles, and we're gonna just line them in our pan. And these are gonna cook. You're gonna be surprised. You don't need to add anything extra to it. It's gonna cook just from the sauce and the steam that's gonna be created, because you're gonna cover this whole thing with foil before baking. After you create your layers, you're gonna bake it for about 45 minutes in a 350-degree oven, and you're gonna be ready to go. I'm just gonna go ahead and finish this up just so you can see where the layers go. You're gonna start with your vegan ricotta. And I'm just gonna dot that in. You want a nice layer, because this is gonna firm up really well because it has that starch for a binder in there. pretty generous with that. Spread that out on our noodles. And then our beautiful mushrooms, which cook down, that looks just like ground meat, and it tastes amazing. That's what you're gonna put all over the top there. And when you cook this and you slice into it, these layers look so gorgeous. I'm gonna go over the top with just a little bit of your plant-based mozz. And we're actually using the chow version. This version actually melts fairly well. And then that kale mixture that we made is gonna go right on top of this. Wait till you guys taste this. You get the earthiness of the kale and the mushrooms, and then the onions, they add just the right amount of sweetness to this. And look at that beautiful color. Like, who wouldn't want to cut into that? And then we're going to use some more of our plant-based mozz. Then we'll do a final layer of noodles with some of our cheese on it, and I'll come back and show you what that looks like. All right, guys, we're getting down to the thick of things here, and we're just trying to finish this off. This is my last layer, and as you see, I am being very, very liberal with that sauce because, like I said, that's what's going to cook your noodles, and it's going to impart so much flavor into your lasagna as well. Woo. Make sure you get it down the sides of your lasagna so your edges cook properly. Otherwise, you're going to have dry noodle edges, and that's not going to be appealing. And I saved a little bit of that plant-based ricotta that I'm just going to dot on the top. And of course, we're going to finish topping this off with that plant-based mozz. Looking really pretty. And you guys, that's it. That is the post. Pop this in the oven, 350 for 45 minutes to an hour. Let that rest once you pull it out for about 15 minutes. Cut into your lasagna. This is going to be one of the best plant-based lasagnas you've ever eaten. Enjoy.